Welcome.
Welcome.
How's everyone doing tonight?
Good.
Well,
Hey, I'm doing great.
welcome to everybody who's here. Welcome to everyone in the audience. It's really excited to be here with everyone. We've got a lot of great stuff planned tonight. ER, do you want to share about some of the human rights literacy we'll be doing at the beginning of the show?
Yes. I'm so happy to be able to chat with everyone tonight. And to hear, like, for me, I'm really excited to hear what questions, what gaps in knowledge, what pushback people in the audience have for us. I'm going to be starting out tonight talking about some work that I'm doing and some wonderful collaborators that I have met inside Stateville Correctional Center and the sort of multiple crises that they are undergoing, finding themselves within at this moment. And I'm just gonna kind of generally share some of my experiences, some of my desires for these men and their human rights. And then I really welcome a lot of talk back because it's an undercovered issue in the media. So I begin by sharing my screen because that's kind of.
Before you go, we want to just we're gonna go into that in just a little bit. And
oh, sure, sorry.
No worries. You're good.
Signposting the other folks.
And does somebody want to? Does somebody want to introduce the? I think Owen, you're going to introduce the party system debate.
Yeah, so we were just so one way we were thinking about engaging with the political climate in the United States was just have a little debate about the party political system in the U.S. Whereas today we have, I mean, technically we don't have we technically have a multi-party system, but the only ones that have real practical relevance in our elections, at least in almost all the elections, presidential and all the others, is Democratic and Republican. So we're just going to have a little debate about that to engage some ideas.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll have a little debate, and that'll be exciting. It'll be a group debate too. So there'll be people who are going to be leading different positions in the debate, and people who are going to also be speaking from other positions. And then I think there was some talk of possibly, if we have time tonight, reading out a section from the Tao Te Ching, and maybe just exploring it together a little bit. We'll see how much time we have just to explore it and ask questions about it and just see where it goes. And tonight, I just want to let folks know that tomorrow we're going to be having a code lab. We might start a little bit early tomorrow. Normally we start it at 7 Central, but we might start at 6:30 tomorrow. Feel free to reach out about that. And also on Sunday, we're going to have another human rights literacy group like the one we had earlier today. So that's Sunday at 9:30 Central. You can visit codewhatever.us or just ask about it in the chat. Any other announcements? Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a place to donate, or do we do that at the end?
Yes, actually, if folks want to, yeah, thank you, Tim. So if folks, that is a wonderful point. If folks want to donate, you can actually just go to our website. That's codewhatever.us. And there you'll find our schedule, which needs to be updated. But also we have our GoFundMe here. And so you can donate here. We're a 501c3, so all donations are tax deductible for people in the United States, and we'd really appreciate the help. We have a very low overhead, so everything folks donate really does help us out with staff, so that people can help more, help a larger number of folks. And so feel free to donate. We'd really appreciate it. It would make a big difference. Helps us do more of this work. So should we go to Statesville now? ER, do you want to take it away? Are you ready? Or okay, cool.
I'm ready.
I think you had an article too. Was it from PBS?
So I think I found the link that here, let me share my screen. But
Cool.
Tim, did you have a question?
Oh, yes, thank you. Sometimes I notice in the comments that the Facebook and the Twitch and something else, or maybe the YouTube, is live or engaged, and I'm not sure I'm seeing that yet. So I just wanted to make sure folks are connected. Oh, yes, there they are. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for making sure of that, Tim.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, so I know that we have had other conversations about this, and they all kind of blend together, of course, in my mind. Howdy. I'm going to share my screen and it needs new permissions, of course.
Yeah, and
Rural Illinois purchase claims.
we actually got the chance, while you're doing that, I'll just let people know a little bit. We got the chance last Sunday, a couple Sundays ago, to start talking about this. And it's really a thing, let's see. If you want me to share, I can share it too, if that helps. But
No, I was just deciding whether I should try to close
Got
all
it.
of my, can y'all see this screen? Because you have to either select the whole window or window by window. But I think that you and I have looked at this before.
yeah, that was, yes.
So for everyone watching, this is a nonprofit, 501c3 called Parole Illinois, that the men themselves, this particular group of guys that I work with every week, started inside while they're serving natural life prison terms with very little hope, if any, of being granted clemency or their cases being overturned. But this past winter, we did have a really wonderful and exciting exoneration of one of our guys, Jimmy Soto, who was released after 40 years, and was wrongly convicted and wrongly imprisoned. So that was wonderful and gave a lot of energy to this group. but they started this nonprofit to restore parole in Illinois because most people don't even know that parole is not something we have in Illinois. Our state has this, like, you know, blue liberal kind of reputation, but if you just pick up any rock, it seems like under there's all manner of creepy crawlies. Like
So
the fact that we don't have, yeah, please.
yeah, so this is something that you want folks to consider, right? In terms of a policy initiative that people can support. And there's some data there too. Do you want to share some of the data they've got and let people kind of explore it a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is some, thank you, BA, for centering
Yeah.
my brain. This is something that I want us all first to become acquainted with, just as a fact, because a lot of what's keeping this status quo churning is just there's ignorance on the part of the voting public. So there are legislative pushes, like there's a kind of legislative avenue to go with this. And then there's also a data kind of
Yeah, let's
avenue.
maybe can we take a look at some of the data, and because just so folks can kind of explore the data a little bit, and let's just take a look at what we're seeing here. Maybe can you make it a little bit larger?
Yeah,
the years served without eligibility, and
let's take a look at that one.
and what's the data source of that data? I know we found it last time. Can you just pull up what the data? Oh wait, does it say? Let's see. I think it says it somewhere here.
Might be. I think it's the U.S. Department of Justice.
All right, well, let's go. We'll go back. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, we'll take a look at this for a second.
Okay, you can see it again, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what do folks?
So does someone?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You're better at this.
No, it's okay. Yeah. I think. What were you going to say, ER?
Well, I was wondering if someone wanted to kind of read this graph as if it's just a text.
There's 5 of us here, and there's 5 points here.
Yeah, perfect.
Do you want to start us
off?
off?
Would you like to go? No.
Okay, I'll start us off. Years served without parole eligibility. Current Illinois law: life without parole.
And how far does the arrow?
And I'll pass to ER.
Oh, yeah. And so we see that life without parole in Illinois currently extends past 60 years. That's serving years. So
you're noticing, yeah. And as we go through this, folks, share what you're noticing. Write down in the chat what you're noticing. Write down on a piece of paper. You're noticing right now that it extends all the way past the 60 years.
Yeah. Which is, like, I think it's smart to put that one up top. You could have inverted this graph, but the guys put that right up top.
Yeah. Oh, and I hear you're
the
saying,
viewers'
yeah.
eye, like, yeah. What do you hear me saying?
So I just had no idea Illinois was, like you were saying, ER. Like, Illinois has this reputation of being blue, forever blue. And the way that, like, we and just, like, the government is failing, like, its citizens incarcerated is just, I mean, I had no idea. I'm just learning about this today. I'm noticing that compared to other states, presumably, like, it's not even close to, like, I just have so many questions. What's going on? Why is it that the Illinois has this, like, really inhumane policy?
Yeah, and I think that's like the perfect. That's the platonic ideal of people's reactions to this. And you ask the perfect questions too. And part of what I'm trying to figure out right now is just how to raise those questions in people's minds and then direct them to the right folks, right? Like I'm trying to, get people to ask these questions of just like why to our legislators.
And
I want to, as you're inquiring towards the questions that we want to be asking that you want us to be asking legislators, I want to just take a moment to say we should think about do we want to talk, like for instance, do we also want to introduce some of the primary source stuff about Statesville that we looked at from WTTW, some of that data that you brought last time. I like this data too. We should be looking at this as well. But also, let's just think about the fact that in a little bit we're going to want to have the debate. Do we want to go, say, till 35 on this topic and then pick up the debate? And we might explore the Tao Te Ching, depending on if we've got a source of it that we can that the person suggested. So we're just waiting to hear back on that. But so maybe in about 10 minutes we'll go for the debate. Do we want to? So I want to go back to what you were saying before, though, about the previous document. I just wanted to give us some foresight into other stuff we could be looking at. But I think you would point. Was there anything? Were there more puzzles folks had about the data on parole stuff that we were looking at before? Were there more questions about it? Or was there anything puzzling about it for folks?
Yeah, I do. I don't know. I was curious if I noticed Indiana and maybe Kentucky were also on that chart. Are there other states that have a similar policy of Illinois, or is that do you know anything about other states' policies, or is it just Illinois that has this?
I can never remember which are the other states that don't have parole. But like, I mean, what's really interesting to me about this issue, and I think is kind of maybe a great rhetorical like leverage point or fulcrum or something, is not so much what the other states. Like I think Washington State might not. Wyoming, I don't think has parole. And maybe Maine. But what always surprises me is that states like Texas, where I have been living for the past 8 years of my life, or states like Louisiana, are graded better by the Prison Policy Initiative in terms of their like release policy. And so like coming from Texas to learn that they had a better grade than Illinois was like, yeah, it makes me irate. That's a really excellent question.
And I also wonder if like you were saying, if it's like if it's really just an issue of like the voting public just does not know. Like I think Democrats are accused a lot of times of having like progressive values, ideas, but they don't always follow through. So I wonder if I wonder how many people even know about this policy.
Yeah, I think that like the kind of the double-edged thing that you're raising, Owen, is really important, because I think it's entirely possible that if me, my group, this, brotherhood only kind of gets the word out that this is the current situation,
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
there
You're
might,
talking about your group that you work with at Statesville, right? Correct?
that's right. Yeah. They call themselves the incarcerated mass is their proper name. That group of guys. And it's entirely possible that if we get the word out about parole only and we don't work on some of the deeper cultural valences,
Mm.
it wouldn't make enough of a difference. Like there need to be like sort of radical prison abolitionists doing a lot of work building community and building humanity, for lack of a better term,
Mm-hmm.
in the voting public and the people outside. At the same time as there are those of us who are working within the prisons right now and dealing with very practical things like what I have on screen now, if everyone can see. So another crisis, that kind of slow moving crisis that the guys are contending with right now, is that our governor has recently announced a plan to raise and then rebuild
Can we choose maybe some passages from this, maybe some of the passages we looked at a few Sundays ago, to just maybe, and if you can make them a little bit larger and maybe we could read them out loud together, that might be good. And then see what folks notice
we want to just
here.
Yeah, would someone like to start reading and then say past when they would like someone else to read a section?
That sounds good. Should I start?
Thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. Here we go. So, advocates praising a fresh plan to demolish then rebuild a pair of aging Illinois prisons are nonetheless raising questions about its long-term sense. In a plan unveiled Friday, Governor J.B. Pritzker proposed spending $900 million over the next 5 years to knock down Stateville Correctional Center, a maximum security men's facility just outside of Joliet, and the Women's Logan Correctional Center in Lincoln, located 30 miles north of Springfield. Pass.
According to a news release, the Illinois Department of Corrections would temporarily close Stateville as a new prison is rebuilt on the grounds. Pass.
And before the next person picks up, feel free to share in the chat what you're noticing, or say out loud what you're noticing too, if anybody wants to say things that you're noticing right now.
I can continue.
Yeah, go for it.
The plans for Logan are less firm. The status of Logan in the interim is still to be worked through with various stakeholders, and the location of the new facility is still being finalized. The release reads, both Logan and Statesville were identified last year in an independent report by Justice Facility Planning firm CGL as outdated and in need of costly repairs. Pass.
The report rated Statesville's building conditions the worst of all state correctional facilities, with 11 of its buildings identified as having complete degradation, inoperability, and need for replacement. The review also calculated $286 million in deferred maintenance.
The report recommended replacing the housing at Stateville saying its two housing structures are, quote, are not suitable for any 21st century correctional center, end quote. Wow. As Stateville transitions, another quote, as Stateville transitions to a multi-custody facility that prepares individuals for re-entry into society, that is society outside of prisons, these housing units stand in the way of being able to successfully make this change, the report said. New housing units should be built that provide day room space, ample cell size, and office space for counselors and support staff. In addition to the extremely poor conditions throughout the facility, peeling paint, leaking roofs, the facility's 100-year-old design is reflected of housing units. These units are poor for a maximum custody population, but even worse for a multi-custody reentry mission. End quote. Pass.
So should we pause here now for a second and maybe talk about some of the things we're noticing, some of the things that we're observing, and then we could. Oh, hey, Amelia came by. Hey, Amelia.
Hey.
Hi. Welcome. Yeah. So do you want to talk about? We've got the Dao De Ching all queued up, so we'll explore that in a little bit. But
I'm noticing that I'm noticing that they have 100-year design. Amelia has been here. No, but yeah, it's like the design is like 100 years old, and it sounds like there's potential. I noticed earlier in the article, like there's kind of this like bittersweet tension with advocates that like it's good that yes, they're making they're renovating the facility, which will be good for the future, but perhaps there's some questions and there's some negative effects that the current like occupants of that prison will like experience as the transition.
Yeah, you actually like hinted at this really beautifully in your just your tone and your reading when you said that prepares individuals for re-entry into society, and then parenthetically you said that is society outside of prison, thereby raising the fact that they are in society.
Right.
They're in their society, but they're also like there's no actual boundary between people who are currently incarcerated and people who are on the outside. So just even thinking about like in geographical terms, to have like two of the biggest Illinois correctional facilities shut down and have all of those people scattered, that's a huge hardship for their families, their friends, their communities, which I count myself in. These are men who I'm very unlikely to ever see again. And that's nothing compared to what they are, the loss that they're going to experience being separated from each other. So I only kind of share that personal experience to invite everyone here watching and everyone who's, in conversations with Code Whatever and in support of Code Whatever to really educate yourselves about some of what's happening right now. It's a really good time to join this movement, and we need you. So I really appreciate being able to chat with everyone tonight.
Yeah, I'm hearing from you that you've experienced the need that inmates have of each other and the deep bonds between them. Mm-hmm. And you see a tragic situation coming up that could result in a lot of people who are very close friends never being able to see each other or communicate with each other again. And watching that kind of brutality, thanks for sharing that. And I want to just check in with the group again. Are there more things folks have noticed? After folks share the things you've noticed, maybe we could speak a little bit about any puzzles on this topic at the end and see if there's anything else we want to explore. And Tim asks a question here. But Tim, you can ask it yourself if you want.
I didn't want to jump in out of turn. So yeah, have you been there to the facilities, and has anybody considered restoring these old buildings and rather than throwing them away? And what does throwing away old buildings say about our society? When we think about restoring human lives, could there be a metaphor or some kind of redemptive process in bringing those buildings into the 21st century without losing all of their embodied energy and their history that this what did you call them? The incarcerated mass has built. And usually these things come from place and they're very specific. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that out. Thanks.
I love that, Tim. That's like my favorite kind of question, a sort of like new materialist inflected musing. So I will just draw your attention to a historical landmark that actually is a part of the Stateville comp, and is the last. It was the latest operating panopticon design of a prison in the U.S. It's called F House. That's the block that it is. And so if anyone's familiar with Jeremy Bentham, he had this idea for a prison where it created an omnipresent sense of surveillance, so much so that the inmate, quote unquote, just started surveilling themselves and suppressing themselves. And so this is one of the buildings, this is the building where we were going to shoot our movie this summer, and now it's it was unlikely they were going to let us in anyway, but it's even more unlikely because they're getting prepared to, demo everything. But it's an incredible round, cylindrical, this doesn't have good photos.
I can see it looks like an amphitheater, some kind of theater.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, if you can see my cursor, it's this guy right here, this round. Yeah, it looks like the Oculus in what's that called? Pantheon in Rome.
Oh yeah.
So again, that's actually a real loss. I do think that it could serve as such an amazing site for research and for learning about our prison industrial system, giving tours there, things being held there. And I just think that's a crying shame to raise that in particular. So thank you for letting me.
Well, and allow me to I bridge what Tim was saying too about how with what you were saying, ER, because I think it's absolutely true that it's like why is it that when they're buildings, our first impulse is to tear it down and just start from scratch. There's so many things that we could get so much valuable information from, and also just using the space, like getting a perspective of like as a museum. I know like Alcatraz in San Francisco. Alcatraz is one of the most famous prisons, and when I was able to visit that, and that was just a very like that was a way for me to really gain perspective on what it's like to be in a prison. Like these are great questions. These are great questions.
Yeah, I'm hearing that having that space of Alcatraz for you gave you an experience of what it's like to be in a prison.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also noticing, Jay, you made a comment pretty crazy that exists about the Panopticon. I want to, thank you so much, ER, for introducing this topic, and I'm sure you're going to be sharing it with us more and more, because this is an important Illinois topic. And I want to now transition us to the next section. And I think next we'll talk about, do we want to do the debate and maybe do we want to try to debate for 5 minutes and then do 5 minutes of Dao De Ching? Do you think we can do that? Should we try?
I'm willing if y'all are.
Unless, yeah.
I'll
Unless
defer.
you
I'll
want-
defer to you. I'll defer to y'all. I think we could do. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, I'd like it. Let's try it. Let's try it.
Okay, cool. Let's do it that way. On other nights, we'd be able to go later and stuff, and it wouldn't be such a big deal. But I think it would be cool to finish close to the hour just for fun. Maybe just so we get to debrief a little bit too.
Amelia likes it too.
Yeah. Thanks, Amelia. Okay, cool. So with that, so I think, Tim, did you say you are going to be debating are you debating the third party perspective, and Owen, you're debating the main parties?
I think it was Amelia, but before they realized maybe technically they weren't able to be in the live stream. So I could give it a try with some backup. If anybody wants to help me.
Yeah, I mean,
looking
I'm
for-
gonna help on both sides.
Okay.
So I'm glad to help with both sides. So okay, so do you want to make opening statements, each of you, as to? So the argument is, what do you want to just state the argument here of the debate?
Yeah. So whether I guess the main argument is whether the two-party system or a multi-party system, political system, better suits democracy, better suits the will of the people and the will and of the U.S. government, or just any government in general.
Yeah. So. So does somebody want to restate that?
To restate the debate. Kind of?
Yeah. Again,
Yeah.
just for fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I could have been listening even better, but from our prior conversation, I know with the debate, given what we have right now, if we feel that is something that's serving us and serving that we have two options in front of us, that two options that are dominant political parties are putting forth, whether that's something that serves democracy, serves effective leadership, or if we should have more options and third parties and additional other parties should have a go and a chance at their piece of the their piece of the leadership of our people and of our country.
All right. Well, as your moderator here, I'm very glad to have you all here. And that's both Tim, who will be debating against the current system, and Owen, who will be debating for the current system. And so I'm going to flip a coin, and the results of this coin flip will determine who goes. And Tim, you've won the coin toss, so you will get to start with a 1-minute statement, and then Owen, you'll get to make your statement, and then we'll have a little bit of debate. We can go here another 5 minutes, I think, and then maybe if we do the dodging really quickly, that could be fun. So go ahead, Tim, have at it.
Thank you, BA. I would like to start by just a simple observation that the two-party system is a false dichotomy. We think that we get to choose between a conservative, the Republican side, who is tough on crime and strong on the economy, but in fact, the Democrats say they're strong on the economy too, and both sides say they want economic growth. And I feel like if you look at the third party alternatives, I mean, just pick one. And they all have criticism about our existing economy because it's really unhealthy. It's leading to social and ecological breakdown, and none of the two Democrats think they can solve the unhealthy system with green growth, and the Republicans are just denying that there's a problem at all. So
you're coming to the end of your time.
Could we get some fresh conversation into that debate? Check.
Owen?
Okay. So
your opening statement?
So here's the thing. We need to have a political system where folks understand what's going on. And in order for that to happen, we need to have, a simple system of one side or the other, Democrat or Republican, so we can gain access to broader conversations that where we're able to say on simple ideas, simply, do we want it this way or this way? And that's practical. We can actually practice that as well. Then that's on a pragmatic approach. Like, in just the reality of it is that we're never gonna get a third party elected. We've looked at elections over and over and over again, and people have we've just never been able to have it happen in the US, except for in a few states and a few small positions. And I yield my time.
So now we're gonna have 1 minute of response, or each of you can do about a minute. And I want to just read a comment from the audience. This is from E. Barosi 2. Pro multi-party argument, in my humble opinion, the two-party system is a fraud. We only have one party right now, and it's a corporate party, so we must move on to other parties that reflect the interests of the people, not private corporations. So that's just coming from the audience. Tim, you're up next, and then Owen.
Yeah, I totally hear you, E. Barrosa. Thank you for that comment. Let's talk about this night or day, this clear choice that you mentioned, because I feel like so much of the American public is caught in between the images of what is being presented in politics, and they're being told that they can be, it's okay to be polarized, or that they're kind of being forced into picking sides, sometimes against um, their own benefit or their own interests. And I feel like neither of the systems or neither of the political choices are working on behalf of ordinary, everyday citizens. We simply don't have a voice.
Owen?
Check there.
So I'm hearing that you think that ordinary people don't have a choice within the system. Night and day is just too simple, like simplifying the issue. But I don't. I think that I think that every position you can break down into simple yes or no answers. And the fact is that, like, when we're able to speak from that yes or no perspective, you're able to reach more folks. You're able to say, oh, well, people can answer that. People can provide an answer. When you have so many different little parties always chatting and like saying what they want, you're never going to be able to get a good response, a response that people hear. There's going to be too much chatter, too much noise.
Now, this is a brilliant debate. I think this is really exciting, and I think we should keep having this debate, actually, and depending on what our audience wants, keep debating this way. We're going to wrap it here now. I know it's very short debate, but this is a good start. And now I'd like to introduce to the group. Amelia had suggested earlier tonight that we have a little bit of Tao Te Ching. This is a translation by Stephen Mitchell. Does somebody want to start reading this off for the group? And as we're reading it, if you're noticing, as you're looking here right now, as you're reading, feel free to write things in the chat that you notice. Feel free to write things in your notebook that you notice. See if you can notice a couple things that are being said in the Tao Te Ching. And Owen, you take it away. If you want to read the whole thing, go ahead. If somebody wants to read the second paragraph, raise your hand. Is that you, Jay? Did you raise your hand? Oh, yeah, go. Okay, yeah, cool. So, yeah, Owen, you can do the first paragraph. Cool.
Can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? Can you deal with the most viral matters by letting events take their course? Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things? Pass.
Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no expectations, leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue.
And as we share what we're noticing here, I want folks, before we even say anything, to feel free to chat it, type it out. I'm seeing, for instance, I'm noticing Sue's use of rhetorical questions. I want to. Do we maybe want to read this one more time? Even just put it out one more time as folks are coming in with what you're noticing. Would that be good for folks if we read it one more time out loud? I can take the first paragraph. Does somebody want to take the second paragraph?
Yeah.
Can you coax your mind from its wandering and keep to the original oneness? Can you let your body become supple as a newborn child's? Can you cleanse your inner vision until you see nothing but the light? Can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? Can you deal with the most vital matters by letting events take their course? Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things?
Giving birth and nourishing, having without possessing, acting with no expectations, leading and not trying to control. This is the supreme virtue.
So what are folks noticing? And you can say it out loud. If you said something in the chat, just say it out loud if you want to. Feel free to share what you're noticing.
Yeah, I think the original oneness really sparked my mind a couple times now, and I'm sure there's a lot to be said on the Tao about it, but that was a little puzzle, I guess, for me, is to keep to the original oneness.
Yeah, what does it mean to keep to the original oneness while also coaxing your mind from its wandering?
Yeah.
I'm most interested in the original word. Like what's original? When was your mind original?
Yeah, what do you think Lao Tzu means by it? Is there any indication that Lao Tzu lets us know what they think?
This whole this reminds me a lot of another saying. I think it might, I don't know the origin, but it's a saying of a bowl is most useful when it's empty. So it's some like, and to me what that means is just that you're able where it can be really tempting to feel like you need to be holding on to a lot of things all the time in order to be useful. But sometimes the best way to get ready to do something effective or do something wonderful or just be happy or anything, whatever you're trying to achieve, sometimes the best way is to just pull back, kind of take everything out of your metaphorical bowl, put it where it belongs. So maybe you can touch back on it, but just be there and be present in kind of the simplicity of life, if only for a short time.
I'm seeing that Amelia also said some things. Does somebody want to read what she said?
Yeah, Tao has a lot of imagery about newborn children, etc. Like when you are born and you are fully present, before you've learned culture, etc. As a newborn baby, you're just present. You're just present.
And I noticed, Jay, you mentioned the receptiveness.
Yeah, I think exactly, the being present, being maybe without even a choice about it, ready to receive and reflect what's coming across. You can see it with a baby, a newborn child, that if it's some gas or it's some hunger or different other situation, it really takes over that whole immediate experience. And I maybe there's part of that there. Yeah.
Now we're drawing down to the end of our evening tonight. This is really lovely. There's so many wonderful things we can learn about tonight together. Do we want to share? Are there any puzzles for this as we go away? Are there any last thoughts about the Tao Te Ching? And maybe then we can just take a final kind of pass through of everybody who's on stage right now and just share about something we learned and something we want to learn. But before we get there, are there any other puzzles or anything you're noticing that you want everybody to know about before we leave the Tao Te Ching for tonight? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm noticing a relationship between can you love people and lead them without imposing your will? And the virtue down below that says leading and not trying to control. That sounds, the leading seems kind of relevant in both of those.
Maple, you are so lovely. Thank you for noticing me, and thank you also, Oz, for pointing up to Maple's comment. Yeah.
I have many names.
Yeah. What do you want to be called tonight mostly? Or Owen is okay tonight. Yes. Okay. Cool. All right.
Yeah, I was thinking that connection reminded me of the story of like an indigenous group decision-making process where the leader will go around the room and hear from everyone and then make a summary of what they heard, and therefore a kind of a conclusion, which is exactly what BA does when she's listening intently and repeating back what people are saying. And yeah, I would say Maple was spot on there.
You're making me blush. This is really sweet. And this is what I strive for. So this is good to hear.
And I think, and we can all learn from it in the sense that, like, sometimes just being a bridge between people and trying to is all people need. Sometimes all we need to do is hear each other, not to be all cliche and whatnot and corny, but sometimes people just need to put the puzzle pieces together, and when you do it with one another, you just get a little bit of a different perspective, or maybe you reaffirm what you think, or maybe you challenge what you think, but it's just being there.
You're here.
Yeah. It's good to talk about the Tao Te Ching like this and to have these conversations. And I want to, as we're wrapping up, invite everybody to share something you learned tonight and share what you're hoping to learn next.
I can
go ahead. Yeah.
I learned about Stateville. I learned about the conditions. I learned a lot about Stateville, but I learned that that the folks there have been in a quite. I'm still like gagged about the octagon. Is that what it is? The status of just being like, it just does. Yeah. I knew that a lot of the conditions for imprisoned folk were like inhumane, but I just gained a lot more immediate perspective about that.
I love you, Owen. Do you have something that you are hoping to learn next? And then I'll go after you since you called in the Panopticon so beautifully.
Yeah, I am looking to learn about how I can what I can do as somebody who lives in Chicago, who lives in Illinois. What can I do to support my siblings that are like imprisoned and like don't have as much of a voice because systematically we don't give it to them. Our system does not allow them that voice, that space.
Oh my goodness. Tonight has been so much fun. Thank everyone. I learned that I struggle because of a past experience, a recent experience in my past with speaking publicly, or even appearing publicly, or even having my name publicly. And I've known for a long time that I needed to like push into the next phase of my recovery. And I learned that when I do that, people like there's a net for me. And there's a desire to hear things from me. And there's, just this wonderful community that it's such a blessing to be a part of. Like I knew that, but I tested it. Like I did that thing where it's like, well, if I push it into like this, if I just show up in this way when I'm not ready or whatever, then they'll really know that I'm a fraud and I have nothing to say. And, like we all have these, and you guys just totally knock that down. All of it, everyone. So thank you so much.
We are blessed.
And
we are blessed.
Another thing that I want to learn, a future thing I want to learn is how to call on people who show outrage and interest in this topic, like so many of y'all have, but like Owen just did. How to call on them to and then like equip them with material like tools for change making from their particular perspective, living in Chicago or living in Illinois. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, same here. I'm looking forward to that as well. I know that it's coming in this space. I've echoed the community and its engagement with these things that matter a lot to us, that are important to us and important to society. Thank you very much, ER, for bringing it today and your involvement with these fights and these communities. It's kind of been for me my central. I guess the intersectionality of this topic and interfacing with these streams and these spaces that Code Whatever is offering opportunity to connect. I really love the combination of our Stateville inquiry into the DAO and how this notion that y'all brought of society continuing in this space, even though there's this isolation, there's this division, and pretending that you could ever insulate part of humanity away from the rest of humanity, and then we bring in from the DAO talk of oneness and really trying to get back to that and not pretending, not withholding that from our experience and getting back to our origins there. So I love the intersectionality as an example here. I know in so many of our streams, this is one of the first that I don't think we touched on Gaza, and I think how that folds into so much of what's happening in Palestine is as framed in this Western colonization and how it shows up in human examples, and we bring in some Eastern wisdom here. We bring in another way to wonder how we can end up in a different and better world, and so I really loved what we infused today, and I look forward to the same action items about standing in solidarity with those at Stateville and Logan who are going to be transferred, and they're a little bit up in the air, their futures, and so look forward to that, and just look forward to being with y'all again, no matter what the topic is, and to practice myself a little bit too with some of bringing these topics. So, sorry, long-winded, but
Thank you, Jay, for connecting the incarceration of our people with the incarceration of people in Palestine. I mean, is it any irony that they're talking about demolishing those two buildings or those two complexes, and that's exactly what's happening with Gaza, is the demolition of the world's largest open air prison. And we know that all forms of repression are related, both at home and around the world, and it like hinges on otherizing out of a fear, out of a kind of polarizing by us versus them defensive mechanism. And we see that playing out in real time where people are using self-defense again as an excuse for killing innocent people. And so I guess I learned a lot about just what's right in our own backyards, because we pay attention to where the narrative is, and we're trying to pay attention to the nuances of what's not being said in the public narrative on Gaza, but there's just so much potential all around us for making those comparisons, and maybe even concluding that all of these forms of dehumanizing and loss of human rights are kind of by the same playbook, and they just manifest and actually, like, evil is not that creative, and it just repeats itself in many scales, and yeah.
Evil is not that creative.
Yeah,
Ralph Waldo Emerson said the only sin is a lack of imagination.
It seems like when somebody is gaslighting to polarize, they're usually taking what happened and mirroring it and blaming it on somebody else, right? And that's the kind of lack of creativity. They're just flipping the script. And, yeah. Check.
Yeah.
Well, and
So-
to add,
Oh, go ahead.
just to add, BA, to what you brought in terms of like that beautiful delivery from Tim. I think that if that the only sin is a lack of imagination, is it also Emerson that said that war is the ultimate lack of imagination? Or it's
I don't know if Emerson said that or not. I've not heard that he said that, but that's pretty cool that somebody said that, because I think that's very true.
whether it was inspired
there's-
or not, we can
Yeah.
imagine so much better. Yeah.
There's a really cool Medium blog that Ben Cohen and Winslow Wheeler, the congressional investigator, former congressional aide, made called "War is Boring." So, yeah, I think of even like Sun Tzu or Miyamoto Musashi. Both of them, when they look at war, they thought it was filthy. That's how they talk about it. It's filthy. This is something that people shouldn't be doing. This is wrong. Or General Sherman saying the only legitimate purpose of war is to create a more perfect peace. But we could go on. We could go on. But I'm going to say, Jay, I see you pulled something up here.
Yeah, I found it.
Do you want to? Do you or somebody want to read that?
Yeah. Somebody else want to read it?
Yeah.
Oh, this is Audrey and Rich.
Yeah.
That girl. Yeah, she's where it's at. Sorry. I can read it, but also there were two voices that came up. I just got.
Yeah. No, go for it, ER, if you want.
War is an absolute failure of imagination, scientific and political. That a war can be represented as helping a people to feel good about themselves or their country is a measure of that failure.
And Owen, if you want to give it an epilogue of some sort, whether that's reading her name or anything, you're welcome to.
I can. I mean, I guess that's just the power of art and like beautiful things and just community and just celebrating the fact that we just have to create these spaces actively. You know, I had a conversation with I do rideshare, and I had a conversation with I was actually an elementary school teacher, and she got in my car and she was talking about, I think I was wearing some makeup or something, and she was like, "Oh, I just love Gen Z or whatever. You guys are like," she was like praising us or whatever as a general, but she was like, but basically she was saying how she felt so like down and like she felt so terrible as, I mean, as anybody with like a heart and soul would, right, about what's happening in Palestine and what's genocide that's been happening all over the world, in the Congo and just in the United States, and just the violence that's ongoing in the United States. But I was just but it just brought up a thought of mine, like that we need to, like, our joy is like the world's joy, in the sense that if we're able to find a way to like just be happy, not with the violence, but with who we are and where we're at, like we're able to create so many different possibilities other than just like fighting against one another and like making somebody, like holding people accountable, absolutely holding folks accountable to what they do, but also moving past it and saying, what next, right? We have another day. What's next?
Yeah, how do we put things right going forward?
Mm-hmm.
So
Can be sane and do the things that we need to do every day, and advocate.
So I'm going to share that one thing I learned today. One thing I learned was in Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching. He says, "Can you step back from your own mind and thus understand all things?" When he was saying that, I noticed, and I've read this before many times, but I was noticing that sometimes our minds and being involved in our analysis prevents us from feeling the synthesis that's going on around us. And it was exciting to think of Lao Tzu in that way. And then something I'd like to learn, I think something I would like to learn is, oh darn it, I forgot what I was going to learn. I think something I would like to learn is how to be a better speaker. And I'm really excited about this new speech that I'm working on. Actually, a couple of them, but there's one that I'm thinking about that I might bring next week, or maybe I might try it again Sunday. And I'm seeing that Amelia also said, is this what you want to do, to learn, to understand that everyone has different understanding, and whatever we understand is just that, our own personal worldview, but to understand that there is a different reality for everyone is powerful. And Owen says, and we need, pointing to that, says, and we need neurodiversity. We need folks that think differently. Yeah.
I think it's called biodiversity.
No, neuro. Yeah. What was that word again?
Biodiversity.
Biodiversity.
Like there's so many ways to be a tree, and there's so many ways to be a human, and all humans think the world should go a different way. Well, we also missed one from Maple, who said Emerson was genius and quoted, "Most of the shadows of this life are from standing in the way of our own sunshine," or something like that.
Mm.
I think Lady Gaga said, "I am my own worst enemy."
Yeah, Emerson once said, I'm to invite, he wrote this in his journal, I'm to invite men drenched in time to step out of the rain and taste their native immortal air. I am to invite men drenched in time to step out of the rain, to step out of time and taste their native immortal air. So on that note, dear ones, I want to wish you a beautiful, beautiful night tonight. And wish everybody who showed up tonight, thank you so much. Again, if folks feel called, even just $5 helps us out a lot. You can visit our website, codewhatever.us, and donate. And we're a 501c3 nonprofit, so your donations are tax deductible. And yeah.
Or just join our community. Go to the website. Every possibility in the world that you could come and join with us to bring what's important and what matters to you. And I think tonight felt like a great way to show that it folds in any topic that people care about. Please bring it.
The Discord.
Yeah, you can join our Discord. I'll put the link in right now. And also, folks, on Sunday, we'll be having another literacy group. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing the Open Code Lab. So there's a lot that goes on around here. If you message us, we'll add you to our mailing list. Whatever you want, just let us know. We're here to help. And I'm going to put the link now in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone. This was such a lovely night. And we'll be back next week. And Maple says, I finally gave after seeing and hearing that convincing funds asking video. Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Maple. That was so lovely of you. Thank you. I don't know if you saw, I wrote you an email about that, but I sent it from a sneaky way. So I'll be in touch with you for that. Thank you so much. That was so lovely. Thank you, everybody who helps us. You know, it means a lot to us. It makes a really big difference. This is really hard work. And not even everybody gets paid. A lot of us do it volunteer. So it really helps out a lot. Well, this was wonderful. Thank you again. We'll be seeing you all next week. At Pitchin.
Ooh. It's a lovely pitching. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Yes, bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
It's just us now.
I was waiting.
What's life?
Bye, y'all.
I'm actually still here, but I figured, actually, it's kind of interesting. Well, we can all come off now and let the credits roll if we want, or narrate them, however we want to. Thanks, everyone.
I love it.
Have a great night.
You too.